Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylee. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
Welcome back, friends. I am so excited you joined us for another episode of the Elite Life. I have my co-host and best pal, Kylee, here. Yay!
We're excited to be back. It feels like forever. I feel like it's been forever since we've seen each other. We've talked to our friends out there in listener land.
Yeah. For sure. It has seemed like forever. One of the biggest reasons, of course, is what we're going to talk about. We've both been sick, and it's just, it's going around. And disclaimer: we are not going to be talking about vaxes or masks. So don't change that channel.
Yeah.
But we are going to go through some tips and tricks and things that kept us sane while we recovered from COVID.
Absolutely. Personally and professionally. Some things that you can put in place. I call it my emergency plan. Like, I have these things. It's like, remember when you were going to school and before, the internet and being able to look stuff up real quick, there was the phone tree from school.
Yeah.
So, the principal called like the first 5 parents, and then they called the parents, and then they called the parents. It's my emergency plan. We have an emergency tree.
That's awesome. Because it's like when you're a kid and you got sick, it's no big deal. It almost was fun because you get to like sit on the couch all day, watch TV all day. Mom and dad brought you soup or food and you were just like chilling. But as a parent and mom and working and all that stuff, like, it's insanely stressful, especially with COVID, because it was like, I got it. I went to the hospital. I, am freaking out because I didn't know it was COVID. I had gotten an pain in my kidneys. So I thought something was going on with my kidneys. And so Dave took me to the hospital. And when they came in and were like, it's COVID, you're like, what do we do with our kids? Like, that was like the biggest part for us was like, oh my gosh, you can't have your kids come home. So like, what do you do? Right. And I think like you're saying, like, that's where you got to activate that phone tree. Right. So, we were lucky that Angelina was with my dad, so she got to stay there, but then it's, he's in Waterford, her school's in Plymouth. So then it's like, okay, well, what about school? Right. And so you're just going through, what do we do about this? What do we do about this? What do we do about this? All of life is canceled.
And then there's all the clients and all the emails and all the phone calls. And so we're just going to talk about some things today that are in our emergency plans and that you can implement yourself in your personal and your professional life when you're sick, whether you have kids, don't have kids. This is going to be something for you.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I guess I'll start. I had wrote down like a quick little 8 notes of, things that were important for me, that helped me and that I kind of learned through having COVID. One of the biggest things for me is I like to be busy, right? Like, I own 4 businesses. My son's in travel hockey. Like, I like to balance all the balls and do all the things and be the person for everybody. But when you're the person for everybody and you're the one that gets sick, it's hard to like let people help and relinquish that control, right? Yes. So it's like I was just saying, I needed people to take care of the kids in the office, and I had to let people help. Mm-hmm. People would be like, oh, you want me to bring you food? And I'm like, no, I don't need any food. Well, then Dave got sick and we needed food. So I had to let people help. So that would be like my number one, no matter if you're crazy personality like me that wants to just do it all on your own. You can't. You have to, give yourself that grace. And when people offer to bring you food, say, yep, please do. I get my food prepped and sent to my gym, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, I have food at the gym. And I'm like, well, my neighbor goes to my gym. So I reached out like, hey, Ben, can you drop my food off at my door? Heck yes. Like, people actually they enjoy helping too, right? Like we enjoy helping others. Others enjoy helping too. So let them help, you know?
Yeah. I did the same thing. I reached out to my go-to, my parents. I'm very much mommy's and daddy's girl. And I was so thankful to be blessed because we got sick. It started with Kaya, started on a Wednesday. So then everybody was home. So we're all in the house. I didn't start getting sick until Friday morning. So I was on mommy duty and then Ryan started getting sick. So by Friday night, I had to call my mom. I'm like, Mom, you have to come get the baby. I don't know how I'm going to continue to care for him and keep him safe at the same time. So luckily my mom was like, oh, well, twist my arm then. I'll come get the baby. So she came and got the baby, and I was so thankful because it was like that was the light at the end of the tunnel because I'd been maintaining all day, just dealing with the girls, trying to, treat myself. And I will tell you the one thing that helped me was essential oils. Like my peppermint oil kept my nausea and my headache at bay long enough to where I could like maintain until my mom got there. And then once my mom left, I was like, and I'm done. And I just I'm like, I'm a pass out. And I just fell over. But yeah, letting people help is not always the easiest thing. Like you said, when you're in a position where like we are, where everybody's everything. And you just have to let people know and they'll help you.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings me to my second one, which is, I always talk about my CrossFit and how I love working out and stuff. But don't push yourself at this point in time. And I'm never someone who says don't push yourself.
Right.
But I was on like day 3 of COVID and I got this like glimpse of energy. Like I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning and I was awake and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel great. 3 days, I'm all done. I'm all better. I got on my Peloton and PR'd my Peloton and I was so sick after that. It was like I took myself backwards like 5 steps. Like I was in bed the rest of the day, nauseous, horrible headache, like just awful. And I'm stubborn. So 2 days after that, I did it again. I was like, oh, I'm 5 days out now. I could re-enter the world. Like I'm going to go on my Peloton again. And exact same thing. Like went on it and I was like, oh, I won't PR today. I'll just like ease back a little bit. Massive headache, awful.
You just don't learn, do you?
No. And it's like, not only would I go on my Peloton, but I'd also do laundry and like, run around the house and start cleaning. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. And no, I had 30 minutes to an hour of good. And then I was awful
Downhill.
for 2 more days,
I totally feel you. I did the exact same thing. Like from Friday all day Saturday and then Sunday morning I woke up and like my fever had broken and I could stand up straight and I was like, okay, well, this house has gone 2 days without being cleaned or touched. I mean, Friday night's pizza was still on the stove and everything was everywhere. So I spent like the first 2 hours of my day doing mom stuff. I cleaned, I wiped everything down, got the hot laundry started. And then I want to say maybe by lunchtime, right, I had to put Ryan in charge and go take a nap because I couldn't breathe. My muscles hurt. My headache was back. And it's hard to give yourself grace and give yourself some time off. But like you said, if you don't, you're going to end up worse than where you started.
Yep. You're not doing yourself any favors by pushing yourself to do, these 800 things in an hour that will still be there when you're better, right? It's much better to stay in bed, take the rest time, make yourself chill. And then when you're out of it all, then you can get back to life as normal. And that kind of brings me to the next thing is like re-entering life, especially if you had COVID. It's kind of crazy because they're like, oh, 5 days and then, you're good to go out in the world and just wear a mask for 5 more days. I don't know about you, but like even I think I was like on day 13 when I actually went back out in the world and I was still exhausted. Like, and I had to decide, there's a book out there called The One Thing. And I kind of like had to implement that in my mind where, I like to do all the things. I like to have 100 checklists and all the boxes checked. But I really had to adopt the mentality for like weeks that what's my one thing that, like, if I get it done today, I won the day. And if I can do some more things, that's great. But I literally didn't have the energy, the mental clarity, or even the bandwidth to do the normal 75 things, even though I was quote unquote all better out of quarantine. I wasn't. It took me weeks to regain my energy, to feel well enough to actually do a full workout, to do a full day of things. Like I kind of feel like this week is actually the first week where I'm like functioning fairly normal at my like top producing capacity. And then even with that, like there's still some days where I don't feel like that. And so you really have to allow yourself to be like, okay, if I get this one thing done today, it's a win. And when I will get back to being, top capacity, top producer, top mom, and all those things. But right now I'm not there. And I have to give myself the grace that is okay. I'm still moving the needle forward. I'm still doing the things that I need to do. But I don't need to do everything today, right now.
Right. Right. And that makes me think of something that I've always said, like, since being a mom, it's I totally forget where I heard it, but it's like you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help somebody else, right? Like they do on the airplanes. They tell parents and people who have little, children with them, if something crazy is happening, put your oxygen mask on first and then help someone else. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't help other people. You can't do all of the things, and you're not, like you said, operating at your top capacity, which is what we all want to do. So I totally feel you there. I was in the same boat. And I think a lot of our listeners out in listener land who have had COVID, or even any number of the other crap that's going around this year. Everybody wants to talk about COVID, but let's remember that this time of year is when we're getting flu, strep, regular head colds, sinus infections, pneumonia, just regular respiratory bronchitis. I mean, all of that stuff is going around right now. And I know that, a lot of the symptoms for this and that are also for this and that. So just slow down, enjoy the rest, and let your body tell you when it's time to re-enter the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when it comes to business too, especially like if you're like us, you're in real estate where you kind of are able to make your own schedule and do your own thing. One thing I have ran into with other agents is them not taking care of their business. Like you're calling, and they almost use their sickness as an excuse to just ghost people. And I would just encourage you, like, if you get sick, activate that phone tree, like get someone, number one, like set up autoresponders, right? Like you can set up an autoresponder on your email that says like, I'm unavailable in my absence, call Kylee. Here's her number and her email. Or, I don't have great service right now. I'll be checking email intermediately. I'll be responding in 24 hours or 48 hours. But have an autoresponder on your email. Have a voicemail message on your phone that either tells them, get a hold of this person if you want to give yourself, full grace to be off the grid, or here's an expectation of when you can expect a call back. Because there's been multiple times where like I'm doing a deal with another agent, all of a sudden I don't hear from them for 3-4 days, and me and my client are like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, is something wrong? And then they're like, oh, I had COVID. Well, I'm sorry you had COVID. That super sucks, and I understand. What I don't understand is why you left your business to just go by the wayside for 4 days, right? Like, we're all grown-ups and adults here in working land. So put those things into place, right? Like, have a person. I had Kim, my office manager at the office, like taking care of all things office. I had let one of the agents that lives by me know, like, hey, all my clients that are out here, I'm going to have you showing them. I went ahead and emailed all of my clients and let them know, like, hey, I'm ill in my absence. Like, you can get a hold of Kristen. Here's her number. Here's her email. She's CC'd here. Everything is still going to go as planned. everything is good. And my clients were super receptive to that. Like a lot of them text me directly and were like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm thinking of you. If you need anything, let me know. I'll bring you some food, you know. And while I'm thinking about it, bring you some food. That would be another like crucial tip, I would say. For the first time in my entire life, I kept forgetting to eat while I had COVID. And that's how you get better. So your food is your fuel, and you're healing yourself with what you're eating.
And
so,
water.
Water.
That was hard for me.
Hydration. Yes. Hydration. Eat some soup, eat some vegetables, get some vegetables in your soup, right? Like make sure you're paying attention to those things. Even if you make yourself your own like sick checklist, like we like checklists.
You and the checklist.
But take a shower every morning. Like that was one thing that every morning or afternoon, if I slept for 25 hours, I would get out of bed, I would take a shower, change my clothes, brush my teeth, you know, make sure I ate some food, drink some water. And so our checklists look a little different, but still making sure we're getting those important things done.
Checklist. Hydration was tough for me. I didn't want to drink any water. I didn't want to, like you said, I didn't want to do anything. And luckily, I had Ryan there, and we just encouraged each other to just try and start doing those little things that help you feel like a human again. And I remember the first time after feeling better, taking that shower, putting on makeup, putting clothes on that weren't sweatpants and Ryan's t-shirt and going to the office. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
I would say the last tip I have, which was super important, especially with COVID, because it kind of messes with your brain when you're in isolation and you're alone and, you know, you get into some dark places sometimes. Utilizing, there's an app called Insight Timer, and or you could do podcasts, but just having positive messages going into your ears. So like I would alternate between Pastor Stephen's sermons, Insight Timer with guided meditations, podcasts with like just getting positivity into your mind. And it also helps because if you're one of those people that works, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I can't work because I'm in my house, it kind of still feels like you're getting things done when you're learning something from a podcast, right? Mm-hmm. So utilize that downtime as net time, no empty time, and be listening to something that's teaching you something for work or something that's positive and encouraging just to lift your spirits, be hearing somebody else's voice and, you know, knowing you're not alone, right? And having those positive things going in. And I know I said that was the last one, but the very last one is if you have a puppy, play with your puppy. There was one day where I was just like having an awful day and I came down, I'm like, I just need to like play with Billy for a little bit. Like you can't see your cute little kids and your baby, but if you have a pup, you can have some puppy time. And that is actually scientifically, they know that does kind of raise your oxytocin and your serotonin levels and make you happier.
Heck yeah. Like I told you before, I've never, I didn't have a dog growing up or anything like that. And since we've gotten Tig, it's been just a really interesting experience. But I don't know what kind of receptors God put in our brains. Like the relationships that humans can have with animals is astounding, right? And there are days when I am not feeling good or I'm angry, I'm pissed off, and I'll just grab Tigger's head and I'll just smell him. And I just smell his smell. And people are like, well, he smells like a dirty old dog. And I'm like, I don't know why. I love it. Instant peace, instant chill. So I feel you there. One thing I wanted to add to our list that we haven't talked about yet is when you are ready to re-enter the world, if you're anything like me and your house is anything like mine and your family is anything like mine, which is just circus chaos, especially when you're the one who does all the picking up and the cleaning and all the things. What was really important for me, what helped me mentally, was creating a space. So I'm one where like if you're still working from home because you're quarantining or you're still just trying to feel better, like we talked about before, just giving yourself a couple hours a day as you re-enter the world, and then maybe going and taking a nap, right? What was important for me was making sure that I had a space where I could mentally focus on getting through my one or maybe sometimes two things that were going to be my win for the day. And what helped me was making sure that my kitchen was tidied up, my living room was tidied up, because my office is literally in the corner of our living room. And so when I've got, folded clothes on the coffee table, and that's our multi-purpose room, having that space, having a clean desk to come to every day was such a win. It was one less stressor, and it really kept me motivated and focused. So I would say that would be on the list. Not at the bottom, but definitely on the list.
Yeah, I agree. Having your own space that is clean and clear is so important. Me and Dave actually kind of quarantined on separate floors. So I had the bedroom, so I had my own space. You're feeling icky, you want to have your own space, and like we were talking about earlier, different people have different things, right? Like I was saying, I like to make the bed, right? Like I want to wake up in the morning, I want to make the bed, and with Dave being sick, he doesn't feel like making a bed or getting out of his pajamas, right? So let's kind of just punch list recap like our exact steps, tips, tricks that we wanted to make sure everybody knew. So I started with let people help. Don't push yourself even when you want to. Make sure you are eating. Make sure that you are taking a shower. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure your business is handled. If you utilize a CRM, you can do a mass email letting all your clients know, hey, I'm going to be unavailable for the next, 7, 14 days, whatever it is, 2 days, 3 days, whatever. In my absence, call XYZ, right? Don't just let your business go by the wayside. So super important. Make sure you're practicing positivity intentionally. So utilizing Insight Timer, listening to sermons or messages or podcasts, or even something that's personal development to make you feel like you're still growing your business while you're in your downtime. And then taking time for re-entry into the world. When you're ready, there's no specified amount of time. Don't feel rushed. Like there were points in time where I felt like I was kind of being rushed out back into the world.
Yeah.
And you don't have to feel like that. Like however long it takes you to feel ready, that's when you're ready. And sometimes you might go out and realize, wow, I'm not really ready. This is overwhelming. And it's okay to come back home. Mm-hmm. So give yourself that grace when you are sick to do it when on your timetables.
Yeah. If you're sick, be sick.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid to let people know either. Especially, like I know with COVID, everybody's super nervous about who they tell that they had it because they're worried about being judged about the way that they're taking care of themselves and, quarantining and all of that. I know that was a stressor for me. I didn't want to tell people that that's what we had. And even though we never got tested, you had it, grandma had it, everybody had it, our whole family had it. And that was just that. Mm-hmm. And I had to come to a place where I had to reach out to people, having that support system and say, hey, I'm sick. This is what I have. Can you drop stuff off on my porch?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody's happy to help.
Yeah. And then disclaimer, we are not doctors, but some products and things that helped us. I know you mentioned essential oils.
Oh, the peppermint oil and putting that on my head, behind my ears, along my back helped with the migraine, with the fever. Thieves oil or Fighting 5 is super awesome, like on the bottom of your feet. Eucalyptus on your chest for breathing. I live and breathe the essential oils. I love them so much.
Yeah. For me, and I seen that you had this in the notes, so you must have used it too, was Liquid IV.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was such a game changer. I found Liquid IV when I was training for my marathon, and I think I was like on day 4 or 5 of my sickness, and I was like, dude, I should totally order this off of Amazon, right? So I ordered off Amazon, and it was such a game changer. It was so good.
Did you get the strawberry flavor?
Yes, I love.
Are they all strawberry?
Flavor. No, there are other flavors.
I'm gonna have to try the other flavors. Strawberry flavor is not my favorite, and it was weird. Like you could taste the salt, but I tell you what. Definite game changer. Everybody in the house was having at least one bottle of that stuff every day.
Yep. Yep, that was great for us. And then getting your vitamins, right? Zinc, vitamin D. We need vitamin D to make us happy. C, yes, absolutely. So making sure you're getting your vitamins, especially if you're not eating. My dad brought us over all this soup from Panera, so I was like steady eating those those baguettes and the soup with the vegetables. So that was really good.
Soup.
I love soup too.
I'm in my happy place now. I'm hungry.
All right. Well, on that note, let's wrap it up. I think we went through and gave our listeners a lot of great takeaways that they can implement when they're feeling sick, or maybe even some good stuff when you're feeling healthy.
Absolutely. So thank you for checking us out. And whatever platform you're listening on, please subscribe. You know you want to come back and hear us again. And if you subscribe, you'll get all the notifications for every time we drop a new episode, which, by the way, is every single Thursday. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn,
Spotify,
iHeartRadio,
Apple Podcasts.
Stitcher,
Yeah.
all the places.
YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube.
So wherever you are now, wherever you are. And share. Please share this. We're trying to reach as many people as we can. We love to help people out. And we know that a lot of our content might be real estate related, but I feel like a lot of what we shared, especially today, could go for, apply to anybody.
Absolutely. I think today's episode was most definitely one for the masses, and anybody could benefit from it. And it's important because if you haven't went through the sickness, or you're someone like me that only gets sick once a year, it sometimes takes days before you think of these things. I'm like, day 7. Oh, yeah, that's right. I need to shower every day. That's important. Oh, that made me feel amazing. I wish I would have done that the last 7 days. Right? So share it, subscribe, love, and come back for more.
Grit, grace, and real estate.
Bye, guys.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylee. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.